Our first presenter is Eric Kane. Eric Kane. I think we all know him. He's doing from grammar drills to natural skills.
Thank you.
So can I just say one thing? I think Eric is the coolest person because he's the only one who has a mic that matches the color of his car.
Did you see what happened to my baby? Oh my God! Oh, it's parked in front of my house and somebody hit it. So I'm gonna turn this off, I think. Okay, I don't think I need that right now. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Did anybody have an interesting story getting here today? No?
I rode on the highway for the first time.
You what?
I rode on the highway for the first time.
You rode or you drove? Man, that's big. That's big. Okay.
My husband usually drives, so I was a little anxious.
Wow. Well, that would be big. Yeah, that would be big. Congratulations. Anybody else?
Only 50.
Okay.
Finally.
I'm wait. Oh, there we go. It's gonna work. Okay. Yeah, it is a large TV. All right. My name's Eric from Elf Learning, also from Elf Kids English School in Shiga Prefecture. I've been here for many years, and my team is here. Is Erica, and where is Bobby? Bobby over there, and Satami downstairs. A round of applause for them for making the trip. Thank you very much. This is Keeping It Fresh, as Lawrence said. It's about getting new ideas. And basically our afternoon session from 1 to 3 will be very practical. And our morning session, we have two people. I'm one, and then Leslie Ito will be the second. Leslie. A little bit more big picture stuff, just kind of giving some framework for what we're going to do in the afternoon. So my goal today is very simple, if I can get this to work. That was kakawari. Kakawari, yeah. I pressed it just in time, too. 3, 2, 1, good. No? Go. There we go. Okay. I'm going to try really hard today to make something really boring a little interesting. I'm going to try. Okay. So I'm going to start with this. Watch this. Boom! Look at that transition. That was exciting. Oh man, do you want to see it again? Okay. Okay. Sit down. Ready? 3. Count with me. 3, 2, 1. Ready? 3, 2, 1. Boom! Yeah, there we go. So that's about as exciting as it gets. Actually, what we're going to be talking a little bit about today is from grammar drills to natural skills. And we're going to look at kind of how the English language has been taught, and not just the English language, but other languages, has been taught from many years ago until more modern times. It's changed a lot because the reason for studying a different language has also changed a lot. 150 years ago, we didn't have airplanes. If we wanted to go to another country, it was physically very difficult to travel. So most of the purpose of studying another language was not communication. It was
Showing off.
Sign of wealth.
information. People in other countries wrote books. We wanted to understand what was in those books. And so we wanted to learn, what the Germans knew about science or chemistry. We studied, Phil's got it, thanks. Thank you, Phil. I'm going to turn this down. Sorry about that, guys. So the purpose has changed, essentially. The reason that we study language, there's still some people who maybe will do that, but now, we have AI. And so the purpose is changing again. Why? We're not just doing it for necessarily communication purposes only, but also for our own mental health. Being bilingual or trilingual or multilingual opens a lot of doors for us. It reduces the chance of Alzheimer's and other, age-related cognitive issues. And so there's a lot, and we build closer connections with people with more diversity and different opinions. And that's a good thing. So we're going to take a look at this, and we're going to talk about how this guy Krashen changed the game. Does anyone know who Krashen is? Just raise your hand if you know the name. Okay, good. I don't know the name, first time? Okay, that's fine. I didn't know, but I have a story to tell you guys. You guys are gonna like it, I think. That's him. I gotta realize I'm kind of like in the way of the TV for some people here. This is Stephen Krashen. This was taken 13 years ago. And I know because I was standing next to him when the picture was taken. So basically his name is Stephen Krashen. He's a very, very smart dude. He has a PhD in interdisciplinary subjects, both education and linguistics. So he's kind of melded those two things together to create something pretty cool, which in 1977, he created the very beginning, the base of everything else that he published later was the monitor, the monitor model and then the input. Basically it means we learn language when we understand messages from people around us or from things around us. That's the basic input. This comes in, little baby, and mommy and daddy are talking, and through that input over time we learn or naturally acquire a language. And then in '83, he published actually more of like an actual teaching method called the natural approach, language acquisition in the classroom. So very quickly, can someone help me? What's the difference between learning and acquisition? Just a real quick. If you learn something, yes, Leslie, thank you. I knew you'd come to my rescue.
So acquisition is learning something naturally without effort, like how a baby learns the language or a young child learns the language. Well, of course, learning is something where you make a conscious effort to acquire some new knowledge.
I think that the key is the conscious and unconscious. One is subconscious or unconscious, and one is conscious, right? And so we learn how to walk, right? But we don't study it. Okay, now first you're going to want to put your hands down. Make sure you get your palms down there, right? You're going to bend at the knees. You're going to push the bum up. No, mom and dad aren't doing that. You just see people moving around you and want to walk. Same with communication. You see people around you and you want to communicate with them because you care about them and you love them. And that's acquisition. And that's very different than an ESL or EFL environment in many situations. So the natural approach, essentially, in a nutshell, hold on. Oop, you're supposed to read that as I did it. Okay, can you read that as it comes in? 3, 2, 1, go.
The natural.
We learn language when we are comfortable and understand the message.
Oh, think about that again. Read that again.
We learn language when we are comfortable and understand the message.
So basically all of Krashen's PhD work comes down to this, I think. Like, if someone asked me to explain what is Krashen trying to say, is if we're comfortable and relaxed and not all stressed out, and we understand the messages coming in, and you know, it's probably we want to communicate with other people, so we're going to acquire language. And first time I read that, dang, see, there's more excitement. More excitement. You want that again? You want that again, don't you? Come on, read it with me. Read it with me. Come on, we're going to have fun with this. Yeah, and so you read that for the first time and you think, wait a minute. Yeah. But seriously, if you think about, like, we're trying to help our students learn to communicate in English, but it's really, if you boil all the other stuff away, it's quite simple, right? And the first time I heard about Krashen, I was like, whoa, that's what I'm doing? That's all I have to do? It's a lot harder than just you know, this, but it's an interesting concept. Oh, wow, let's boil it down to something very simple. So this is me many years and many kilograms lighter, years younger and kilograms later. This was in about 2013, I think. I actually saw Krashen for the first time in Nara in 2004, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was my first JOLT conference, and I went in, and there's this massive room, and I'm like this little kid from Shiga, like, hi, Gane Kaiwa. You know, and I'm going in the room, and it's packed. There's like, you know, I'm over thousands of people at that time. It was huge, right? Going this massive auditorium, and there's this, oh, and everyone's like, shit. And some people are like, I hate this guy. Right? Yeah, because people,
Yeah.
cool, there are a lot of people who don't like Krashen.
Oh, yeah.
Do you know why?
Why?
Why do you think?
Because he challenges what they're doing in the classroom at the time.
Yeah.
Goes against the norms.
And a lot of, if people start doing this, a lot of people are going to lose some money. There's a lot of grammar translation textbook makers out there. So a lot of people are like, and a lot of teachers, this is really important too. A lot of teachers, I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but feel the need to teach rather than allow the students to learn. There's a difference there. And sometimes teachers feel like, okay, I'm a teacher and I'm going to teach and they're going to learn. And sometimes when Krashen basically is saying, no, you don't have to teach. There's other ways of doing it. They can acquire this language naturally, but you have to kind of set it up. And Leslie's actually going to talk about one of the key things that Krashen inspired people to do. Right? He was a huge, I'll talk about this just a little bit later, huge reason that extensive reading or FVR, free voluntary reading, came into existence because of Krashen's research. So anyways, heroes, don't meet them. So I have a story for you. And this is really embarrassing. Everyone knows, I think most people know, I have a textbook series called Think, Read, Write. It is a phonics-based textbook series. After seeing Krashen in 2004 on the big stage and everybody talking about him, I heard he was coming back to Japan. I went, oh man, I saw it late. I want to meet Krashen. And so it was down in Osaka or something. It was 2013, I think. And so I messaged the organizers. I'm like, hi, I just saw this, event. I really want to get in. Is it possible? And they're like, yeah, it's actually full. Oh man. Obviously it worked out. So I was like, okay. So anyways, I said, well, if a spot opens up, put me on a waiting list. And I get an email, like 2 days later, one spot's open. Yes. And so I'm really excited, and I told them that I based my reading library on his stuff and of the way I teach and a lot of things. And so I get there and I go to the sign up, right? And I say, Eric Kane. And she looks at me. Oh, you're Eric? You're the one who emailed? Yeah. She, Eric, come here. Grabs me by the wrist, runs me up to the front of the room where Stephen Krashen is getting ready for his presentation. This is the guy I was telling you about. I'm like, hi. And he's getting ready to present, right? I'm like, I didn't need that, right? So anyways, he's giving his presentation, and it's very good. And there's a Q&A time. And I can't really ask Krashen, he's Krashen, right? So I raised my hand. There's one question I always wanted to ask him. Dr. Krashen, in an EFL environment in Japan, where the sound systems of Japanese and English are so different, is there a situation where direct phonics instruction given to students to help them learn how to read would be beneficial? Because he's the kind of anti-phonics guy, because it's explicit instruction. You're teaching, right? He doesn't like that. Is there any situation in this environment where you would make an exception to your position, right? He looks at me, he goes, no.
Really?
Boom!
Wow.
Sink lower. And he just essentially said, absolutely not, nothing. And I was like, wow, that hurts, right? But the story doesn't end there. We go to coffee later. Yeah, I'm having coffee. This email led to coffee, sitting with him and two other people, one publisher and when somebody organized the thing, and we're just sitting here talking. And I said, I was really surprised by your answer. He goes, well, actually, I kind of get it in some situations, but I can't say that in front of 120 people. Boom! That's the theme today is boom. So that it was a nightmare for about 45 minutes. And then finally he said, well, I get it, like in some situations, but your goal is to get them reading, quickly enough, and you're doing it in a way that delivers input. So if you're teaching phonics in a way that is delivering input so that the students can understand, in that case, he said, it's not harmful, basically. And so I was like, oh, okay, I didn't totally mess up my professional career. All right. So, anyway, how did we get here today? We are here at Keeping It Fresh because we are all, is everyone an English teacher? Anybody not an English teacher just came because you have to? Okay. Okay, yeah.
Not because I have to, but because I want to.
Well, you have been an English teacher. Come on, jeez. He's just here for the barbecue. But I know Andy, and it's worth it. It's worth it. Trust me. So we're all here because it's been a journey, right? It's been a journey. The EFL, and why are we talking about fresh? Is the EFL, we're talking just about English as a foreign language, not Spanish as a foreign language, or French as a foreign language, or any other language, just English today. So the EFL journey has changed over the years, starting a very, very long time ago, and how people have taught a second language has also changed over the years. Are you trying to get that to work?
Stop hugging.
Oh,
Sorry to bug you.
No worries,
You're
Ish.
so tall and useful. So tall and useful.
I've never heard those two. You're so tall and useful.
Never heard that.
Yeah. Actually, Kenny, can you grab a water or something?
Oh, eating water?
Can you be useful, please?
No.
So this is a very abbreviated, short version of a much bigger picture, okay? So I'm not gonna go super deep or detailed, okay? I'm just gonna skip over a couple things. You can research it later if you'd like, if you're interested, but essentially, let's assume that grammar translation, everyone knows what that is, okay? This is a cat, in Japanese is? That's grammar translation. You get vocabulary lists and stuff like that. And that's how people have taught languages for many, many years. And believe it or not, it kind of had a purpose, right? Back in the day. But there wasn't much speaking, if any, involved. It was just all reading, right? Direct translation into your language so others could understand it. It could be poetry. It could be novels. It could be scientific or other information. Thank you so much, Yuki. You're a rock star. And a special hello to Phil and all the people on Zoom at home. That's gonna sound
radio voice.
That's gonna sound really good, yeah. All right, and then the grammar translation, because it didn't deal so much with speaking, there's another method that developed a little bit after that called the direct method. And the direct method basically is like teach the language in the language, so you're teaching English in English. I mean, in a nutshell, there's a lot more to it. This actually is a little bit closer to what we do now, but not quite. And then as technology increased and the way we think about the human brain, psychology, kind of came about, like the behavioral sciences and stuff like that, where they say, okay, well, listen and repeat is the audiolingual thing. And then people were doing this and listen and repeat, and then they were getting off the boat or getting off the plane, and they were like, hi, and someone said, says something, and they're like, I can't communicate. I've done all this listening and repeating, but I don't know what anybody's saying, because I haven't studied that yet, right? Then along the way, in the early 70s, people started putting some stuff together. And CLT came up. And that's the communicative language teaching, where we see language as a means of communication, interaction, personal connection, personal development. And this changed things, but a lot of people who have been teaching English and the grammar transformation, all these things, who had assessments and tests and everything, said, what's this crap? What's your proof? Show me how this is going to work. Prove it, right? And there was no theory that supported it. There was nothing that supported these type of activities, role plays, and different things that were communicative between people. There was no research until crashing came along. And that was 1977 and 1982. And so they're like, oh, see? What he said, that's why it's important, right? And from there, a lot of other methodologies blossomed. And we have a few people here today who I would call specialists in some of them, sitting very near me right now. And we won't talk about it too much, but there's some people here, if you're interested in some of these things, maybe we can point you to talk to them, because it's really interesting how it's evolved. And the very interesting thing is that I was going to say this for the end, but I'll just ask everyone real quickly. In Japanese junior and senior high schools and now elementary school just a little bit, which method would you say is used primarily?
Grammar translation.
Even now?
Even now.
Even now? Does anybody disagree? You disagree? Okay.
Because my daughter always tells me about her lessons recently.
Yep.
I think they're becoming way more communicative. I
Okay.
really do believe that. It's
And
just at her school,
Junior high school?
no elementary.
Elementary school,
Yeah. I
okay.
think junior high school is like, they get this good base, all of a sudden they're becoming more and more impressed. I'm very skeptical, but more and more impressed, and then when they get to junior high, it's like, oh.
And I'm just going to point out Hiroko real quick because I think somebody posted, was it you about the jump? The assumptions that they're making in junior high school? Yeah.
Yes. Actually, I was talking to my students, my first grade students about this yesterday. Their classmates are struggling a lot.
There's a big gap.
Yeah, huge gap. In my town, we changed from New Crown to New Horizon, and the way that New Horizon is set up, the first chapter already assumes they have all this knowledge and they understand the difference between be, verb, and all of this stuff, and they can't comprehend, and you spend so much time trying to explain why you don't answer, do you like something with yes, I am. Sorry.
No, it's great. This is what today's about. So get us thinking and talking to get started, right? This is great. But I think what you're seeing is people are pretty passionate about their method. It's like a sports team, right? You know, and like, go my team, and your team sucks, right? And that people attach themselves to methodology just a little bit the same way. Right? So we have to be a little careful because there are benefits to many of these things in certain amounts, right? So it's not you're all bad. That's not the case. There's a purpose for it sometimes, and so that's what this is kind of where I'm going with today. But anyways, very quickly, let's compare these methods very quickly. I'm not gonna lie, ChatGPT did help me do this because boy, it's a lot faster. So I just gotta tell you that there was a little bit of help there. So we get the methods on the left-hand side, and then you'll see this is the type of activities that you might expect in this classroom. I'm gonna step away so you guys can read this, if that's okay. I can make these slides available. Oh,
We're right here, we're kind of.
oh wow, you can't
Maybe you can
see.
just slide it.
Here, why don't we do this?
Yeah, it's not perfect.
Slip sliding away. Now Mark can't see.
Yeah, now you're fine.
Can we bring this down lower?
The wheels right.
What's that? Will it go any lower at the end?
Your computer. No.
Okay. Excuse me for this unscheduled interruption.
How many English teachers does it take to take care of a podium?
How many English teachers does it take to adjust a tripod podium?
Right, exactly.
The answer is 3. Assuming there's success here.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, we don't need these wheels.
How's that?
Can you guys see?
Is it wonky? Is it a wonky donkey?
Better.
Good enough? Better? Better? Better?
Yeah.
Here, actually, I can shut this kind of. How's that? Better? All right. So just have a look at this. Go ahead and read this at your own pace. This is a comparison of the types of activities that you might see. This is gonna expand out so that you can see the whole thing, okay? So don't take a photo yet, okay? All right, real quick, before we continue. When you look at this, do you see activities? Do you see activities that you use?
Yes.
Yeah, just shout them out real quick. What do you use?
QA drills.
Audio visual.
Games. Songs would also be done in CLT.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Discussion role plays.
Yep. But what you're seeing is everyone here probably picked at least one thing, maybe one thing from each method, right? Which is really interesting. Which is my team's best. It's not the case, right? So that was the point of this particular part. And if you look at the focus of the activities, take a look at that. That's also very interesting. Sorry. this whole thing will expand out, okay? Just wait for the photos, okay? Unless you need to take a picture to zoom in and read. All right. And then, of course, the interesting thing, but there's a psychological theory during that time in history that also often has a connection to the methodology that was being used. And I found this is something that I didn't know until I started researching this a little more. It's very interesting.
My daughter's educational psychology does.
Okay.
Her tutor.
Okay.
And yeah, all of this was disgusting.
Yeah, and so that's the really interesting thing is you start seeing some of these things as we change the way we think about the human brain and psychology, right? And then finally, the motivation. Now this is really interesting. I think motivation is one of the key points in learning, right? If someone is motivated to learn, they're more likely to learn, of course, and it doesn't matter what that motivation is, right? But look at where they're at. The external, that's an external motivation, such as grades and tests. Some moderate intrinsic, motivation there. This one again, external, performance-driven. It's kind of pushed and certain things like this. And then highly intrinsic and purpose, which means our motivation it's enjoyable or it's fun or we enjoy it not because it's songs and games, but because we're communicating and we're connecting with other human beings. That's why we're gonna if we're in the English language teaching world. Much of the motivation is going to have to be intrinsic because a lot of the reasons that we initially started learning another language for translation, computers are going to do it better. And so it has to be a very personal process. We grow as individuals to connect with other people. And so that's something I just wanted to point out. So just a quick question. On a scale of 1 to 5, how fun do you think each method is? How enjoyable? Give it a ranking. How about the grammar translation? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. 1. Okay, got 1. I got 1. We're gonna get you. How about direct method, which is like really speaking in the language and stuff like that? Anybody? I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, go. 3. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I got a 3. You got a 3. I got a 3 over here. You got a 3 over here. What? Your coworkers say 5. Well, maybe they should play the game. Yeah. How about audio-visual method?
1.
2? 5? We got a 5 over there. Okay, good. And how about CLT, communicative language? 5? Whoa. High five. There we go. Yeah. That's what I want to see. All right, good. So, I'd say
We know which team you're on.
you're correct. That's really interesting though, right? Because if we assume that intrinsic motivation is really important, right? And the enjoyment, of course, is anything enjoyable is intrinsically motivated for the most part. Then it's kind of clear, right? To a point. Yeah. Okay. I want to focus on this part right here. Okay, we're just going to talk just a little bit more. So anyways, boom, there it goes again. When we first heard this and I first put all this together, it was like 2004, and then I started reading more about it. I'm like, this is really interesting. I got this big, extensive reading library. I went to Tokyo to meet a woman named Beniko Mason, who's really into extensive reading in Japan, and this was everything for me. And I wanted to help kids learn how to read as quickly as possible, and that was really important to me as a result of this. So, anyways. Krashen's natural approach is basically these 5 things. Okay, and we're going to focus on the bottom 2. But basically, acquisition versus learning, they're different. Okay. Monitor hypothesis actually is pretty important. It's basically like if you're speaking and you're constantly wondering if what you're saying is accurate or correct, then your communication ability is going to go down. Because you're worried about making mistakes. Your monitor is high. You're worried about stuff. All right. Low monitor good, high monitor bad. Except when you have to be very accurate in like written translations for governmental policies or something. It's important, right? The natural order, which some people say yes, some people say no. But basically, we learn grammar in a natural order, which is not always the same as textbooks. Input, this is really key, I think. Are you okay? Chicka, chicka, boom, boom. Yay, round of applause. This is a key point here. I+1 is a very key point for me, and I think for all of us. If what the students are reading or listening to, any of the input that they're receiving, is way too difficult for them. Talk about the English shower, right? If you take a shower, you put a cup on the ground, you take a shower hose and go like this, how much water is going to get in there? Not very much. No. Because what happens to the brain if they hear like all this stuff but they don't understand anything, and they realize that the information is not intended for them to be understood, they're not going to listen, and they're not going to try to understand. It's kind of like if you're driving with someone and they know the way to the place you're going and you don't, you're just sitting there along for the ride, and then someone says, "How did you get there?" You don't know, right? It's very similar, I think, to this concept, but if there's a child and the person speaking to, or an adult, speaking to them with intent, trying to be understood, using visuals, using your prosody and the way we speak to be understood, using songs or gestures like TPR or something to be understood, then the possibility that they're going to understand the message increases. So that what Krashen was saying, okay, well, if they understand everything, and it's not challenging, so they're not going to grow. But if they understand most, some people have different numbers for reading, it's between 95 and 98%, Leslie, would you agree with that?
Yes, but I would argue that it's more for adults.
Okay, yeah, I'm not really sure exactly where it would be, but if you understand most of what's coming in, but don't understand some things, you're going to try to figure out what you don't know from the context, right? So imagine if you read a paragraph, you don't know one or two words, you'll probably try to figure out what it means. But if you understand every other word, right. So that was one concept that was very important. We try to keep the level of instruction just a little more difficult than what they understand now. And the effective filter is low stress environment, comfortable, right? People around them care, and that creating that type of environment is so. With that said, these are some of the strategies that came out after Krashen. By the way, TPR came out before Krashen. It came out in the late 60s. And it basically, people were doing it, and then Krashen's work came out, and people said, okay, that's good, let's do that more. So Krashen said, okay, this is what I'm talking about, and he put it into his thing. So many people think he developed it, but he did not. It came out about 8 years before his first publication. Extensive reading, which is what Leslie's topic is going to be about today, setting up an extensive reading library, also known as FVR, free voluntary reading. Basically, you give the kids a chance, an opportunity to read, and let them read whatever they want. No test, no assessment, just let them go. Right? TPRS, Scott Crow, if you want to know more about this, I think knows quite a lot about this particular topic. It's teaching proficiency through reading and storytelling. So a lot of, he's better than I. And then a lot of acronyms down here. Katie Pato, help me out. What does CLIL stand for?
Content learning language.
Okay. What is TBL?
Task-based learning.
Good. What is PBL?
Project-based learning.
And she's got the books to prove it. Okay, so all of these things, all of these like teaching like strategies or methods, I guess you'd say, came from or were heavily influenced by Stephen Krashen in the late 70s and early 80s. And that's a lot of the things we're going to see today. I think that's on my next slide actually, at Keeping It Fresh. So a lot of the things we're going to see today, because we're trying to help our students learn to communicate better in the English language. One more. There we go. Let's have a great day learning certain tricks that we're probably going to see a lot of references to Krashen's work today when we start doing activity shares and stuff like that. So, with that said, that is my Those are my words. Anybody have any questions? Real quickly, don't challenge me too much. No, okay, that's it. I'm gonna check to make sure there's no questions online. No questions online? No.
It doesn't look like.
No,
it.
okay, great.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you very much. We're gonna take a short break. I think